I think being a kid is all stress and carefree days. Turns out in today's modern world, kids are under more pressure than ever. Joining us this morning for some help on being able to get your kids to take a step back and relax is Marty Calder from Center Counseling Services. Well, thank you very much for stopping by this morning. Talking about stressing kids, like what really stresses kids out nowadays?
Well, I think one of the things that, we talk a lot about, the kids get to play video games and they do all kinds of stuff on their own, but that's one of the reasons that they're stressed out is because everything is instantaneous. I get updates for my daughter's school, I get her missed assignments. I mean, everything happens very quickly, which is good, but that can also put a lot of pressure on the children to do well.
So with something like that, you talk about expectations, so like you mentioned the school assignments, you immediately know if your kids missed a school assignment. Honestly, I just fibbed to my parents and told them I did my schoolwork, but really didn't. You can't do that anymore.
That's right. And I mean, part of the thing is that expectations either for themselves, either the child has high expectations or the high expectations by the parents. And we need to also have realistic expectations. And so what's going to happen, and I'm not saying that you should ignore those missed assignments, but what happens in third grade is important, but maybe one spelling assignment isn't going to be the end of their college career.
Okay.
And so, keeping it in perspective for them as well. And I think you can also ramp that up. And so, as they get closer to junior high, making sure they have good study habits and make sure they're doing things that way. And then also be aware of the media that they're seeing. I mean, one of the harmful things about
a step back and give them a little more breathing room, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the child you have, and so each child's a little bit different. I have 3 children that are all a little bit different. My middle child is very driven. The other 2 are a little bit more laid back, and so you have to parent accordingly. And I think you can't just say, across the board, well, this is what's going to happen, because those other kids may not go with that, or that may be not enough for them, depending on the situation.
So if the stress ball is rolling down the hill already, what can you do to get those kids to, like we said, take a step back and relax?
Well, we talked about, unplugging. That's always a good idea. And I've said it over and over. I hope people understand, like, taking some time and doing something or getting away with your child. Even if it's a ride somewhere, go with me to the store, or, hey, you want to go over here or go for a little bike ride. It doesn't have to be some, trip
vacation
to Disneyland. Right.
Okay.
In fact, kids like those small little moments. The daddy-daughter dates and the mother and daughter stuff is great for really connecting and kind of de-stressing the situation.
All right. Well, thank you very much for stopping by this morning.